the radical, fundamental principles of freedom, rational self-interest, and individual rights. This is the Yaron Brooks Show.
All right, everybody, welcome. Welcome to Yaron Brooks Show on this, I don't know what it is. I think it's a Monday. We're in October, or at the end of October. Man, this just flies by like that. Just came back from Austin. I was in Austin for 4 days doing a seminar on altruism with some philosophers and objectivists. It was a lot of fun. And actually, that seminar on altruism is going to, I don't know, what would you say, is going to help with this review of Squid Game. So today we're going to spend the day on Squid Game. I think there's enough here to do a whole show about it. Of course, you are, feel free to ask questions about anything. Including Squid Game. If you've seen it, they're going to be spoilers. But just so nobody leaves, I'm not going to recommend watching Squid Game. So for whatever that's worth, I'm going to recommend you stay away. But if you plan to watch it, they're going to be spoilers. Lots of spoilers. Everything. You will know everything about Squid Game by the end of this. So beware of that. Take that into account in terms of your consideration whether to listen to the show today. So let's see, what else do I want to tell you before we get started? Don't forget to like the show. Don't forget to use the super chat. I see Ali's not here. She was supposed to be here, but Ali's not here. We still have a goal of $600 per show. Use the super chat feature to support the show. You can also ask questions using the super chat feature. That is even better. And of course, I haven't had a show in almost a week, so you guys have saved up gazillions of dollars, so hopefully that'll be reflected in our ability to raise the money today. I think today's show is worth a lot of money for those of you who haven't yet started watching Squid Games. If I can convince you not to do it, or to stop if you started, then I think I'm going to save you more heartache than whatever you contribute in terms of money. All right, I watched Squid Games on the flight to Austin, on the flight back. So I binge watched the whole thing, and we're ready to go. Again, just before that, let me mention this. Next week I'm going to be at Cornell University speaking. And then I'm going to be at two universities in Michigan, and then at Xavier University in Cincinnati. If you guys have any interest in coming to any of those talks, live, three-dimensional, real talks, in person, all the fun stuff, then you can find information about it on my website, YaronBrooksShow.com, YaronBrooksShow.com, events, and some of the events you need to sign up in advance for. It'll have the topics, it'll have the times, it'll have the location, it'll have the instructions about what to do. So feel free to come introduce yourself next week. It'll be fun. I'm doing 6 talks I think in 4 days, but 3 of them at the same university at Xavier in Cincinnati. I don't know if we have anybody. Who listens to the show from Cincinnati. All right. So, as most of you I think know, Squid Game is the most watched Netflix show in history. Now, it's a short history, granted, but this is a worldwide hit. It's number one, the number one show watched in I think 90 different countries. It is huge, and particularly considering the fact that the show is in Korean. You can watch it dubbed in English, which I hate to do, so I watch it with subtitles. You can watch it. You can watch it with subtitles, but you can watch it in any one of these countries. This is the most watched show ever, and again, 90 countries have it as number one. So, I mean, that's the primary reason I decided to do this. It's not a movie; it's a show. It's a TV miniseries, 7 episodes, and there will be a season 2. So this is season 1. It clearly ends with the beginning of season 2. And given its success, there's no way Netflix is going to pull the plug on it. So the reason to do this review, and the reason I kept watching it, was because of its cultural significance. This is a massive TV show with massive following on a global scale. It's coming out of a country, Korea, whose TV shows I have in the past liked, and many of friends have liked, even shows I haven't watched. Oh, you know what? I did increase the volume for something, and I didn't correct. So let me... All right, hopefully that's better. Hopefully that the sound is, the volume is better. I lowered it down a little bit. Let me know if it's still too hot, and I can lower it some more. Anyway, so this is a cultural phenomenon, and thank you, John, for providing me with the incentive to watch it. $2,000 is a pretty strong incentive, in addition to the fact that this is a cultural phenomenon that I thought was worthwhile commenting on. And as I said, it comes out of a culture, Korean culture, which I think is interesting culturally, has done some of my favorite TV shows of all time. You know what I think of Mr. Sunshine, and which is probably my favorite TV show of all time. So I find it generally interesting. All right. So I'm struggling to think about whether I should tell you the story first or jump to the theme. It really depends on how much patience you guys are going to have. But let me give you the outline of the story. And as I said, they're going to be spoilers. If that's important to you, and if you intend to watch the show, you might want to drop out. Don't forget to like the show before you leave. All right. And let me just remind you of Super Chat questions, just a general reminder, because there haven't been any yet. The show basically is about a game set up by some mysterious people, a game set up that brings in to it to play losers in society, people who have lost everything, people who have nothing really much to be proud in their lives, people who are not going anywhere, people who are not achieving much, and people who need money. Most of them are dramatically in debt for one reason or another. And it basically tells them, you can come and play this game, and if you win, you will get a lot of money. And if you lose, you're eliminated. And a lot of people go and they figure, hey, what, no harm, right? I'll make some money. That's cool. But there's already a hint that maybe this elimination is not the most pleasant thing in the world. Because in the prelude to this game, they're introduced to the idea of a game where they can make money, with a guy playing a simple game that you can play anywhere on a pavement. And every time they lose, if they win, he gives them money. And if they lose, he slaps them in the face. So this is already starting to give you an indication that physical force is involved in the game. There are 456 players in the game. And in episode 1, the first game is played. They take them to an island. On the island, everybody who is organizing and running the game wears masks. They carry weapons. The participants in the game all numbered from 1 to 456. And there are a number of rules to the game. One is to being in the game. If you're in the game, you have to play. You have to participate. There's no optionality. But if the group as a whole votes to stop the game, they can leave. But if they leave, nobody gets any money. But every time a game is played, the pot that is available for the winnings grows. And the pot is huge. I think it's $38 million or something like that in dollar terms. I think it's $40 million, let's say. And they can see it. There's this big ball in the sky and money just falls into it every time they finish a game. And in episode 1, the first game is played. And it's a children's game, and all the games are children's games. There's a reason for that too, we'll get to it. It's a children's game. It's red light, green light. You know red light, green light? I cover my eyes, and when I cover my eyes, it's green light, you can move. As soon as I turn around, anybody who moves when I've turned around, when it's a red light, is out. Well, they're brought out. They're not told what the game is going to be. Then they're told, okay, it's green light, red light. And they're kind of scratching their heads. They can't remember this game because it's a children's game. These are all adults. They're trying to figure out what this is exactly. And they stop playing. And immediately, the shock, and this is very effective, the shock is that everybody who moves is shot, killed on the spot. The machine guns on the sides, they're just shot. Anybody who moves, there's a motion sensor, motion detector. Anybody shot is killed. Indeed, of the 456 people, 200 are killed during this game. And it becomes evident now that all the games are like this. All the games are life and death games. You don't just lose and go back home. You lose, you die, you're killed, and you're incinerated. And every single game is that way. These are not games of skill, necessarily. There's some skill plays into it. These are not games of strength, although some strength plays into it. These are not purely games of luck, although luck plays a big role here. There's some skill, some brains, and a lot of luck. A lot of luck. And indeed, as the series progresses, more people are killed brutally, blood splurting all over the place, and gratuitously, and with no emotion. People are just killed. Gun is put to their head, triggers pulled, they're dead, move on. Right? The friends of the people being killed are upset, nobody else. Now, after this first game, when the people who are alive realize, oh my God, I'm in a life or death game, somebody calls for a vote. Whoa, let's stop this. Let's go home. Let's just stop this game. Now, at this point, just from a moral perspective, even though they've signed contracts, you cannot sign a contract. Ignorance of the rules, discover that physical violence is used upon you, and then the assumption is, well, contract's a contract. They have to keep playing. No, that's absurd. But of course, you can't leave because there are armed guards there that prevent you from leaving. And at this point, you can vote. So they vote whether to leave or to stay. But the argument to stay is, look how much money. And what do I have out there? I have nothing out there. These are all losers. And we'll get, that's an important theme about this. All of the people playing the game for one reason or another, their fault or not their fault, are losers. And they vote, it's 50-50. In the end, one vote says to leave. So they leave. Now they have a chance to stay on the outside. They know what the game's about. They know it's life or death. And yet 80% of them choose to return to the game. Even the people who voted to leave choose to go back because when they go back, they realize how lousy, crummy, horrific, horrible their life is on the outside. Now, this is all set in modern day Seoul, in modern day South Korea, right? Now, in what sense are these losers? They're poor. They're in debt. All of them in debt, some form or another. Almost all of them, though, are losers because they're losers. They gamble. I mean, the hero of the show, the person who wins the Squid Game at the end, the guy who is center focus of the entire series, is somebody who cannot make a living, who steals money from his mother, who's dying throughout the show, in order to gamble, who then loses the money he gambled to a pickpocket, somebody who cannot, who has a daughter that and a wife that have left him. He's trying to regain the trust of a daughter but can't. He's just a loser. He's poor. He lives with his mother. He's probably, 40 years old, lives with his mother. His daughter's going to leave for America. He can't do anything about it. He has no money. He's massively in debt. The gangsters are after him. They're going to take his eye out and take his organs to pay off the debt. It's like Shylock from The Merchant of Venice. They're going to extract a pound of flesh. And he can't do anything about it. The only time he gets in money is because he gets lucky in gambling on horses, and then the money is stolen from him. But he's a nice guy loser. Nice guy in quotes, because he's not really nice. He's an altruist. Maybe that's why he's a loser. He values other people's lives above his own life, and this is part of the theme. He wins the Squid Game in spite of the fact that he is constantly making stupid decisions. He's constantly making decisions for the benefit of others where his life is at risk. He's constantly behaving altruistically for the sake of other people, not to win. And yet he's the one who wins. It has to be him, because he's the only one who doesn't consistently, constantly act to win. And the other main character, who is the finalist with him at the end of the show, is the brains of the operation. This is the smart guy. Now, he grew up with our, quote, hero in the same slums. His mother works a fish stall in the slum. He started out dirt poor, but he is the pride of the neighborhood. He went to university. He got out. He got a great job, and his mother thinks he's in America on a business trip. Well, what actually has happened, and again, crucial to the theme, is he has committed fraud. He's embezzled millions and millions and millions of dollars. Money he can never repay unless he wins the game. But he is the example of the guy who got out and yet didn't. There are a bunch of other characters, a criminal, a male criminal, a desperate female, a female with a child that she can't support, a couple, it's not clear why they're there, husband and a wife. But of all the characters, there are only two that are, well, actually three that are sympathetic. Only three that are decent human beings. None of these people are decent human beings. And this is the thing, that the hero is a loser, but a horrible loser, an addict to gambling, somebody who doesn't actually love his mother because he steals money from her. Doesn't actually love his daughter because he betrays her constantly. And yet this is the guy. Yeah, Ali, we'll get to capitalism, and we'll get to that. I think the theme of this movie is far deeper than capitalism. I think capitalism is one of the themes. That is, one of the themes is this question of capitalism. But I really think the theme of it is much deeper than capitalism. And we'll get to that. Let's see. So, there are only 3 characters in this game, 456, that we get to know who are decent human beings. One is an immigrant from Pakistan, not very smart, strong, but no smarts, who is ultimately brutally and disgustingly betrayed by the man he comes to respect and admire and form a friendship with, which is the smart one, the embezzler, the fraudster. And he dies knowing that he was completely betrayed. He was cheated and betrayed. The second positive character is a girl who's there because she's been in jail. We don't see much of her. We see her in one episode, really. We really get to know her in one episode, and then she's killed in that episode. But she basically decides that she'd rather die. Oh, I need to talk to you about this episode because it's a powerful episode. It's the only episode that's really powerful, but it's also super evil. She has killed her father, and she was in jail for that because her father killed her mother and abused her. So she's innocent. And then the third is a North Korean refugee, a girl who's escaped North Korea with her brother, whose father was killed during the escape, whose mother is still in North Korea, and she's trying to get the money to get her mother back and to get her brother out of an orphanage. Those 3. So, and they're all killed. They're all killed. 2 of them are killed in episode 6, and the last one is killed in episode 7. Or 8, and it's just, and they're killed brutally, and again, betrayal, and the one basically she chooses her own death. Think about this game for a minute, right? Your odds of winning, let's say it's luck, is 1 in 456. If you lose, you die. Who would play this? Who would play this? Yeah, like the marble episode is the best episode by far because it's the most touching, it's the most emotional, it's the most interesting, and it reveals the characters for who they really are. It's the most personal. They team up in 2s to play a game, but they don't know what the game is going to be. So many of them team up strategically. The smart one goes with the guy who has a lot of muscle. And the idea is that they're going to be partners. They're going to play against other teams. Our hero teams up with the old guy who's dying anyway because somebody needs to team up with the old guy, and it's the altruistic thing to do. It's the stupid thing to do. It's the loser's thing to do. And the 2 girls team up because they kind of trust each other. But it turns out that the game is not against other teams. The game is these couples playing against each other. For example, a husband and wife have to play against each other where one of them must die. And this episode is hard to watch because the smart guy manipulates the strong guy, even though they're supposedly friends, uses his trust, abuses his trust, and kills him, basically. Our hero lies to the old man, which is the right thing to do in that circumstance because the old man is dying anyway. And we'll get to the old man in a minute. Cheats him And the old man dies, or at least we think he does. And the two girls, after telling each other their life stories, the girl who was in jail basically commits suicide, gives in, loses the game on purpose so that the North Korean can live. The only act of nobility, I think, in the entire series. I'm interested in anybody else thinks otherwise. The only act, really noble act, the only act of any worth in the whole frigging series. Anyway, all kinds of games, and they keep figuring out new ways to kill people, so the violence is gratuitous. It's all the time. There's blood everywhere. There are mangled organs. There's brains splattered over the walls. The bodies just pile up non-stop throughout the show. No thinking, no remorse, no questioning, just bodies upon bodies upon bodies. At some point, the players in the game realize that they could kill each other even in their off time, even when the game's not on. So they start fighting among each other and try to kill each other. And some of the key deaths happen, not in the game, but during the off time. And that's not cheating, that's part of the game. Now, of course, who is running this game? Well, rich people. Why are they running this game? For their own amusement. And we'll get to that in a minute. Rich people are being entertained by these people slaughtering each other, killing each other, dying for each other. So what is the theme of this? What is this trying to convey? What is the message that this is telling the viewer? The message is that human beings are pathetic, miserable, evil creatures. And the thing that corrupts them beyond identification, but beyond anything, is money. Money is the root of all evil. To everybody there. It's less about the ruling classes. It's less about capitalism. It's much broader than capitalism. People are fundamentally evil, and that evil is triggered, exacerbated, manifest when money is involved. It's not about the inability of the poor to rise up and become rich, because the guy who goes to university and leaves the thing is poor, becomes rich. But then he embezzles and commits fraud, right? Because money did it. Because he wanted even more. The guy who starts the game, the guy who invents the game, the guy who sets it up, the guy behind it all, turns out to be the old man who was playing. And why did he do it? It turns out he had risen from poverty to wealth. He grew up dirt poor. And he made it. He succeeded. He made a lot of money. And then when he had a lot of money, he was bored. He didn't know what to do with it. He was looking for something to do. And human beings, he says, are horrible, evil people. Of course, remember that the context here is altruism. So everything's in the context of why are they evil? Because they won't help a homeless man who's dying in the street. That's the standard, right? Yeah, I like that one of Friedman. Money kills, people don't. Well, money causes people to kill. People are predisposed to kill. People are evil, and money brings it out in them. See, he's doing it because he's bored, because he doesn't believe in human beings, because they're all evil anyway. So why not have a good time? The people who come to watch the games are mostly Americans. I think maybe there's a Chinese there. They're wearing masks. They're just ugly, horrible, caricatures of rich dudes who just want to see people slaughtering each other. It's It's the games of Rome, but there's a difference. It was hard for me to watch. So Landon says, how did you want stomach watching it? It was very hard for me to watch. I did not enjoy it one bit. I did it for you guys. It was a sacrifice. I'm kidding. I got paid to watch it. I would have never watched it if nobody paid me. Because how truly horrible it really is. Particularly in its theme. Again, the only redeemable characters are people who need money in order to save themselves, save their family because of North Korea. But you'd think in a proper society, a refugee from North Korea wouldn't have to do this to save themselves. So it's definitely a criticism of capitalism that creates this. But in South Korea, there's this deep distrust of inequality that goes back to South Korea's history. South Korea's history is basically a feudal country in which they were lords and serfs. If you think about Mr. Sunshine, they are lords and they are serfs. And that kind of inequality is abhorrent, and it's abhorrent to the South Koreans. And most of the TV shows that are good that I found in Korea that have been good, that I've really enjoyed, have dealt with that. But this is, of course, modern South Korea, where many of those old, fixed inequalities based on birth are gone. Where much of society, maybe not all, maybe it's still problem society, is determined by merit. But there is still that ingrained hatred of inequality. You saw that in the Academy Award-winning movie Parasite, which I reviewed here, and you can go back and find the video of me reviewing Parasite. I think it was a really good review. But Parasite basically deals with the question of inequality and how inequality seems to inevitably lead to bloodshed. But Parasite was a brilliant movie. Visually, dramatically, it was unexpected, it was beautiful visually. And it was somewhat interesting. I have to say that Squid Game has no redeeming feature. It is evil through and through. Evil through and through. Again, the guy who wins the game doesn't deserve any of it. He was helped by other people in various times. He benefited from somebody being smart. He benefited from somebody being strong. He was mainly lucky, altruistic. He indeed actively engaged in activities throughout the show that should have resulted in his death, like teaming up with the wrong people. He did all his strategies wrong. So in the end, to win the Squid Games is a matter of luck and altruism. As in life, the winners, the people who rise to the top, are lucky, not able. And the money is going to corrupt them. Here's another example of money corrupt. So there's a number of examples of money corrupt. First of all, everybody playing the game for money and putting their life at risk and killing other people for money. But then you've got people who rose up from poverty but commit fraud and stuff. Why? Because of money. Then you've got, by the way, Parasite is a good movie, but again, an evil, horrible theme. Parasite is worth watching because it has aesthetic value, but the theme, the philosophical theme of the movie was evil. I can't remember what it was right now, but it was wrong. It was bad. It was no good. And then you've got the rich people who stay rich, but then they get bored. So they exploit people to the extent of killing them in mass, hundreds of people. By the way, in Squid Game, it is said that while this Squid Game was being played in 2020, it had started in 1988. So it had been going on for 32 years. So hundreds and hundreds of people had died. thousands of people had been killed because some rich guys were bored. But then, just to be clear of how corrupting this is, so you don't mistake this, the winner of the 2015 Squid Game lands up being the guy who runs Squid Game today. He too was corrupted by the money, corrupted to the point of joining the team that puts these on. By the way, the actor who plays that character is the lead actor in Mr. Sunshine. That was pretty horrible. But he's a good actor. He's good. His brother, by the way, in the show, in Squid Game, is a cop who's trying to figure out all this stuff. And season 2 will probably have the cop coming back because he was kind of killed, but we never saw the bodies. He's probably not dead. And he's learning all the secrets behind what's going on. All right. So this is a show that is targeted at trying to show you how nasty, evil, pathetic people can be. And people are. When they are desperate for money, when they want money, and when they get money. It's not that the poor are noble. The poor might be noble because they're portrayed as scumbags. I mean, the hero is a bad person, even when he's poor. But let's say some of the poor are noble. They're noble until they either get money or they have the opportunity to get money. They're completely corrupted by money. They're no good rich guys. They're no good rich people. By implication, it suggests that capitalism is a system of luck. It's a system of zero sum. I mean, one of the things the Squid Game is illustrating is it's zero sum. Only one person can get that money. All the rest have to die. Talk about zero sum. Doesn't get much more zero sum than that. So, this is, I don't think, it doesn't really bring up capitalism. It brings up people getting rich. I mean, for all we know, they're getting rich by doing something else. We don't know. There's no economic theory here. As Genetic Jam says, what do you think of Tim Pool's take it made by someone who doesn't understand capitalism and actually demonstrate communism? I don't think it demonstrates communism or capitalism. Why does everything have to be political? In art, it's unusual that things are political. This goes to the metaphysical nature of man. That's the theme. Man is rotten. It doesn't matter what system they're in. If they're in communism, they're rotten. If they're in capitalism, they're rotten. And if there's opportunities to rise up, they're rotten. And even they'll do horrible things to their loved ones. They'll do horrible things to their friends. They'll do horrible things in order to advance, in order to achieve whatever it is that's going to be achieved. Because human beings are metaphysically horrible. That's the point of the show. That's what the show is trying to conceive. That is the theme. That is the point. And then, of course, the criticism of capitalism is that capitalism is what creates inequality of wealth, because money is the corrupting factor, the primary corrupting factor. It doesn't take much. But money is the corrupting factor. And of course, money is the symbol of capitalism. But no, this isn't communism. There's no communism here. You don't know how the rich guys made their money. Maybe they made their money by stealing it for everybody else. Maybe they made their money. But there is some criticism of, I think at the end in the final episode, the old man says something about, I made money lending money. So there's a criticism of kind of capitalist, the idea that making money from money is immoral, and people that make money from money are the pinnacle of evil. But no, I think it's a mistake to view this as, but people will take it as a criticism of capitalism. People will identify it with capitalism. They'll identify the zero-sum nature. They'll identify the rich versus and the poor. They'll identify this idea that one of the lead character tells a story about a strike when he was at an auto company that where they were attacked by the police. They were striking and they lost his job, and his life deteriorated since then. But these are all excuses because he, as described in the show, is a loser from beginning to end. So, yeah, you could view it as a criticism of modern South Korea to the extent that that's capitalist. Then it's of capitalism. It's a critique of any system that creates inequality of any kind. A lot of during the games, some of the rhetoric of the people organizing the games, the people putting them on, is here you're all equal. None of you have more than the other. But of course they're not, because some of them are smart, some of them are strong. But that doesn't matter in the end. Because in a sense, the games are set up that no one characteristic will get you to win. A lot of it's just plain luck. But it's set up as if here we have real equality. Here, there's real equal opportunity or equal outcome. You're either dead or you're rich. That's it. So it's not, it's definitely egalitarian in its projected ideal, but then what it shows as egalitarianism is death and destruction. So the movie is not advocating for anything. And really what it's advocating for, is nihilism. It's nothingness. It's death, destruction, and really the worship of zero in Ayn Rand's terminology. Altruism is a virtue. Nobody lives up to the altruist ideal. Everybody is corrupt. The ones who are not corrupt are just going to die miserable. Everybody's corrupt. Everybody's corruptible. Money is the primary means in which people are corrupted. What's the point? There is no point. There's no point fighting this. By the way, in the Squid Game, there's a scene in which it's indicated that every country has its Squid Game. This is not just one Squid Game in the world, but these things are going on everywhere in the world, supposedly. The Americans say, the Koreans, they put on the best Squid Games. But what's the positive point of the movie? There is none. It's just life sucks. It's dark, depressing, violent, gross. Again, well made, well acted. I think particularly the episode about playing marbles is particularly powerful from a character development perspective, and you get a sense of the characters, their emotions, their lives, their backstory. But in my view, do yourselves a favor and don't watch it. Don't watch it. The real question we should be asking ourselves is, why is this the most watched series ever on Netflix? It's got mixed reviews from places like the New York Times. The New York Times did not give it a good review, quite a negative review, actually. But it's getting some very good reviews. Certainly on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a 90-something percentage score. Why do people like this? And I really do think this show reflects back to them a certain despair that people seem to have. A set of beliefs that are coming together in our culture. Culture of value deprivation. Very good, Travis. Absolutely. A sense in our culture that something in the world is very wrong. A real distrust of one's fellow man. Growing sentiment towards capitalism, but towards money, towards inequality. There's the story about inequality. It's been told now for over 10 years, for 12 years, over and over and over and over again about the evils of inequality. And it's become a cultural thing. And there's a nihilism in the culture. There's an evil under the surface. Remember, not that long ago, we had Nazis and communists pulling the trigger on innocent people, slaughtering them in massive numbers. And there are people like Richard Wolff who still defend those slaughters. They pretend they're not slaughters, but that's what they pretend. We have a world in chaos, a world where millions of people have died from a disease nobody really understands, and nobody believes anybody about. Everything is suspect. Everything is politicized. Some people made a lot of money during this period. Some people did not. Yeah, I mean, this series is about the nihilism of Antifa. This is equity. Not equality. Not equality before the law, not equality of rights, but equity. Certainly, this is a good illustration of the conservative equality of opportunity. Think about life. Life is a game. Life is Squid Games. You either succeed or you lose. And the way to succeed is to make sure others loses, because only some people can win. Not everybody can win. I don't know. There's not enough food on the planet. There's not enough stuff. There's too much pollution. There's too much CO2. Not everybody can be winners. So the world is structured where only some people can win. And the winners win it all. And the losers lose it all. And, whoops, it looks like I deleted Thessie, one of your comments I deleted by accident. Can't undelete it, unfortunately. Sorry. It's a completely zero sum. In a sense, it's negative sum. And that's just the world. That's just life. And I don't know, the fact that this is done so well, the fact that this was so successful, it really makes you wonder about the human race and what it's coming to. And what values, if any, do they have? I have to say, it's pretty depressing to know that the show was as successful, as popular as it turned out to be. Now, I'm curious if anybody liked it. So I'm curious if anybody wants to ask a Super Chat question from the perspective of liking the show, right? But it's clearly a show about the evil of money and the evil deep in human beings' hearts. Right? Deep in human beings' hearts. And again, nothing redeemable. The nice guy is an altruist. He's not a good guy. And at the end of the day, this is nihilism. There's nothing else. It's not, the theme of the movie is not nihilism. The theme of the movie is the depravity of human beings. But the only positive message, the only positive idea that can come out of such a view of humanity is to hell with it all. What's the point? There is no point. All right, let's see. I think that's it. Let me see if there's some super chat questions about it. Ali says, I think it mostly shows that in capitalism, everyone is loser. I don't agree with that thought, and unless one become on board and cancel the game, people will die. It also showed that even if the game's fair, other people might cheat the system. But the game's not fair. The game is not supposed to be fair. The game includes cheating. It doesn't say you have to win by these rules. You can win any way you want, by lying, cheating, committing fraud. And indeed, you see that over and over again. You can lie by pushing somebody, by using physical force against somebody, which happens. So, the game is not set up to be a fair game. The game pretends to be egalitarian, but what it's showing, and this is why Tim Pool might have confused this with communism, what it's really showing, and I think it does this on purpose, is even when you pretend things are egalitarian, it doesn't matter. Because people are evil. People are nasty. They will kill each other. They will step on each other. They will do ugly things to one another. So it doesn't matter what system we have. It's the nature of human beings that is under attack in this movie. All right, Lee reminds us that I wrote a book about inequality. Equal is Unfair with Don Watkins. You guys should go buy the book. Equal is Unfair. Just as a counter to this movie, go buy the book. It's on Amazon. You can get it in every format known out there. Enjoy. Let's see. Brian asks, on sportsmanship, I recall a situation where a marathon runner took a wrong turn at the very last second, and the runner behind him stopped and gave him first instead of taking first himself. Altruism or just the spirit of the race? I think it's the spirit of the race. I don't think it's altruism. I think if the guy had won knowing that he won because of kind of a stupid mistake, if you win, you want to win because you won, because you did what was necessary to win. Run the fastest time, train the most, whatever it is. But you won because you actually won. And to win because a runner makes a small mistakes is truly, I don't know. So I think it's a sportsmanship. It's not that it's necessary, but I don't think it's altruism. Adam writes, for Korean TV series that is set in our time and has positive values, watch It's a One Class. Note to past censorship in Malaysia, etc. Sex is shown by riding a motorcycle together. Riding being Korean slang for woman on top, intercourse. All right. Thank you, Adam. I haven't seen that one, but it's on my list. There's a lot of good Korean drama. That's the thing. But this is the most successful ever. This is the one that made it. This is the one that's bigger than anything else. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? What do you think about Tim Pool's take? It was made by someone. Oh, I already answered that. Thanks. Ryan says, I think that once you take philosophy seriously, you can't watch or read fiction without having the moral themes smacking you in the face. How much are we influenced if we watch without thinking? Children watch Squid Games. I don't think any child should watch Squid Games. It's horrifically violent. It definitely, art influences you. Art does teach you. Art shapes a culture. You didn't have a Renaissance by accident. The culture of the Renaissance was shaped by the art of the Renaissance. There is no culture without art. So I think art very much shapes the culture. It's often a leading indicator. This is why it's so scary. It's often a leading indicator of the ideas that are shaping the culture. So, yeah, discourage. I mean, really keep this this TV show away from children. It's a crime to show this to children. I mean, not the literal crime, but a moral crime to show this to children. But no, art, you know, you watch, think about, you read Hugo, Victor Hugo. I don't know how many of you have read Hugo, but you should. Or you watch Mr. Sunshine. And what you get is the best of mankind. What you get are models and examples of rational, valuing, passionate, good human beings pursuing their values passionately, even when the values are flawed. In Mr. Sunshine, I think she's wrong in her values. In Hugo, they're always wrong about their values. But they're passionate about them, and they're rational about them. You can be rational and wrong. Yeah, I mean, Hugo was a socialist. It's not, this is why I don't like political messages. It's not about the political messages. Hugo's novels are not about politics, although politics plays a role. You're not creating young kids who are going to be anti-capitalists by watching Squid Games. But what they are getting is the deeper message. World's a zero-sum game. People cannot be trusted. Money corrupts. People are fundamentally evil. That's the message they're getting. And a culture that produces this art and consumes this art, that's the message that is getting ingrained in that culture. It shapes the culture. Movies are not neutral. Art is not neutral. And art is not politics. Art is not about politics. Art is about deeper, more fundamental, metaphysical ideas. This movie is about the metaphysical nature of man. And here, the metaphysical nature of man is evil. And that is a horrible, horrific message for children to get. Let's see. Michael asks, in art, couldn't someone still gain value from art by simply being entertained by it? Also, could good art show how not to act as well as show the audience how to act? Yes, but it has to be good art. There has to be some amazing redeeming factor for something to be philosophically corrupt and evil and still be worth watching or reading. Or there has to be something really, really important and really, really significant about it to justify that. There is nothing like that in Squid Games. There's no original, beautiful cinematography that sharpens the mind in terms of how to look at reality. There's no amazing characterizations that, I mean, the characterizations are good, but there are plenty of shows with good characters. And look, why are you entertained? You have to ask yourself the question. This is a good question to introspect about. Why are you entertained by evil? Why are you entertained by gore? Why are you entertained by death and destruction? Now, I understand being entertained by superheroes and stuff. I'm not. But I understand being entertained by that at some superficial level. The movies are not very philosophical. They're just, from my perspective, stupid. But to be entertained by something with such a powerful, obvious, manipulative, driven message of evil, you shouldn't be. I am not entertained. I was not entertained by Squid Game at all. When you shouldn't be. Go find something better to entertain. Don't consume junk food of the mind. It's not worth it. Your mind is a precious thing. You can rise above that. There's so much good stuff out there, good movies, or at least not thoroughly evil ones. There's so many good books. I mean, just read Hugo instead of Squid Games. Any book by Hugo. It'll take you a month anyway. Long books. There are a million things that are better. James Bond. Go watch James Bond. It's going to be, at least it's, it's a little shallow and ridiculous, but it's at least not evil. What is the much more serious point that no one is talking about? Enlighten us. I mean, I might have missed something. You don't judge an artwork by its political message. All right, let's see. Al says, it gets easier to see the anti-capitalist rhetoric in shows once you truly look for it. I've seen a lot in Doctor Who even. Yeah, I mean, it's everywhere. But I don't let stuff like that stop me from not enjoying movies and shows when it's not the essential thing and they're not hammering you on the head with it. And again, in this movie, it's not so much the anti-capitalism, it is the anti-life, anti-human being aspect of it. Let's see, what else? LMF says $1 for each hour saved for me, 9 episodes. Yep. Peter says, getting some inspiration for an objectivist movie review in my sociology class. Chose it for fun in my semester abroad. So far, everyone has been surprisingly tolerant of my views on culture, etc. Yeah, I mean, beware of objectivist movie reviews. I don't know what that is exactly. Right? Doing a movie review from the perspective of the objectivist philosophy, the philosophy or the aesthetics? The objectivist view of aesthetics or the objectivist philosophy? Those are two, they're not the same approach. Right? Not the same approach. Okay, let's see. Michael says, are some people destined to be losers? Their free will can't overpower it. No, nobody's destined to be a loser. People become losers either through bad luck or because they have defaulted on their reason, on their free will. They've defaulted on it. They've not exercised it. Or through mistakes, errors. It's also possible. In art, couldn't someone still gain... Oh, we did that already. All right, so we're running out of questions. Just to give you a sense, we're way out. We're about halfway to our $600 mark. We're at $280, so we still got $320 to raise. So you can use this time to ask Super Chat questions. I've got a few more, but they're all, with one exception, they're all pretty low dollar amounts. So we could be done here in 5 minutes, which is fine by me. We'll make this a short show. Or you guys can step in with some Super Chats and keep this going. Again, you can ask about anything. And of course, you can also make a contribution without asking. But it would be nice if we could raise another $300 in the next half an hour. And we would only make it a half an hour if you guys continue to ask questions so that there's content for the next half an hour. Hopefully, you guys got value of my review. You get value from the show. You get value from what I do, from my talks, from my seminars, from the stuff that I do. Ali is not here today to kind of prod you and get you to contribute, but hopefully you'll do it without Ali being here. I know some of you are poor. I do not expect you, but not all of you are poor. I'm not counting the 2K I got for the review. The 2K separate pot. The 600 per show is the goal. Sometimes we don't meet it. That's okay. But it would be nice if we did. All right. Harrison says, how much for a review of the Golden Age trilogy by John C. Wright? I mean, that's 3 books, or is it 3 movies? My guess is it's 3 books. I don't know. How big are the books? Can I listen to them on audio? Email me at uranbrookshow.com. At uran@uranbrookshow.com. And I will look into, I'll try to figure out how much I would charge. But my guess is that these are books. Yeah, books are far more time consuming. Science fiction. All right. Email me, yaron@yaronbrookshow.com. All right. One down. We got 3 questions, and then that's it. Landon asks, did you see John Oliver did a special in support of Taiwan? I was actually impressed. 2 million views in 17 hours. Good for John Oliver. I mean, these leftists sometimes do stuff that's positive. It's unusual, but once in a while they'll do something that's. I haven't seen anybody on the right do anything to support Taiwan and to rile up attention towards Taiwan, because the right today is super non-interventionist. Why should we intervene? Why should we say anything? Why should we stand up for freedom? Let them stand up for their own freedom. All right, 2 questions to go. Dean asks, I find a lot of value in music, even though the values are twisted, like System of Down, Toxicity. The melodists and music are stunning. By the way, would you review songs? Sure, music is difficult to review. I don't have the vocabulary for music, the words, because it's so abstract. But music is non-conceptual. Now, songs are conceptual because they're lyrics. That's why I like songs in foreign languages where I don't understand the words. That makes it easier because then I can judge them just by the melody, the passion, the emotional, the invocation of emotion, and I can imagine what's being said. So yeah, you can enjoy music even when the values being projected in the music are very negative, because you're enjoying the melody, you're enjoying the emotion, you're enjoying the emotional state it puts you in. All right, Thessie is bringing us back to Squid Games. Do you think the popularity of Squid Games is a weird turn into more societal, suicidal ideation in a post-lockdown world which is darker and more glum? Or is it that thinking too hard? No, I think there's something to that. I think the post-COVID has something to do with it. It's a factor. Suddenly everything is more glum post-COVID, but it's more than just glum. It's also, it's less understandable. It's less comprehensible. It's more confusing and seems more random. And I think people feel more alienated, feel more confused, are more fearful. Oh, somebody asked me this question. I must have deleted it by accident. More fearful. So I definitely think that COVID is going to change our culture in some ways. It's going to change our attitudes, and it makes the world much more open to these evil, horrible ideas. Any thoughts on Alec Baldwin and the shooting? And somebody else asked if I thought he should be tried for manslaughter. I don't know. I don't have an opinion. I haven't read through the details. We have a court system that's pretty good at these things, that can look at the facts, figure out whether he's guilty of anything, or if it's just a crazy accident. I haven't read about it because I don't think by reading it I'll learn. I think that the police will do a good job, and they'll figure out whether there's a case here or there isn't a case here. If he goes to trial, there's good enough reason to think there's a case, and then we'll see how the trial goes. But so far, it doesn't look like there's anything obvious that requires me to get engaged in a story like that. I stay away from the news if I don't think, this young man who killed this woman and then escaped and now was found dead. These stories don't interest me, and they don't. Yeah, bad things like that happen all the time. There's nothing generalizable about the culture. There's nothing. There's nothing particularly interesting about them. All right, let's see. Oh wow, super chats are suddenly fired up, and everybody's writing in. Let's see. I talked about Baldwin. John, $20 says equity is an Aristotelian term that means fairness. Yes, we shouldn't allow leftists to redefine the word as they did with freedom. Equity is not equality of outcome. I agree with you completely. Equity is just fairness. It's justice. Fairness is justice. They're just, in some sense, synonyms. Justice, fairness, equity. The left keeps switching because they've tried fairness. They certainly have tried justice, social justice, but they want to capture all the moral words. And notice that the left understands that the struggle is about morality. The left understands that he who captures morality wins at the end of the day. And the struggle is about these concepts. The struggle is about what is justice? Social justice? That's not justice. What does justice actually mean? What is fairness? Equality? Equality of opportunity? No, it's not. Well, what is equity? It's not equality of outcome. It's not even equality of opportunity. Equity is justice. It's people getting what they deserve. In economics, some people deserve more than others because they produce more than others. They benefit more people than others. Whether that benefit is always objective or whether that benefit is subjective. People think they're benefiting. That benefit exists. All right. Andrew asks, back to Squid Game. The description of the characters' dispassionate response to each other's murders is disturbing. Violent crime has decreased. That doesn't mean there's goodwill among people. What do you think is causing this hatred? Again, it's completely consistent with the theme of the series. The theme of the series is we're all basically evil. And the trigger for that evil is money. And in seeking money, life has no value. Our own life has no value. Think about it. These people are playing a game that almost certainly they will lose. What's the odds of 1 out of 456? Certainly they will lose. And they're playing a game because there's a close to zero chance that they will win the jackpot. Now, okay, so people buy the lottery. But here, if they don't win the lottery, they're put to death. Why is anybody playing this game? This is the game anybody should be playing. So there's a real, again, people are inherently bad, and therefore, what's the big deal about killing somebody? But yes, the dispassionate killing of the gods, of the thing. I mean, the only guy who gets upset by the killing, some killings, not all of them, some killings, is the guy who wins at the end. He's supposed to represent virtue, but virtue, of course, is losing. He wins the game, but he loses at life. Because that's what altruism gets you. And of course, altruism is the standard. Altruism is the standard of value. Now think about this. If you believe altruism is the standard of value, and people cannot live altruistically. Altruism meaning placing the well-being of others above your own life. Right? Placing the well-being of others above your own life. And the less deserving, if you will, the others are, the more altruistic, the more noble your act is. People don't behave altruistically. They don't live their lives on a day-to-day basis altruistically. And what does that cause them? It causes them to feel guilty. But it teaches them that morality is impractical. Morality, in a sense, cannot attain any values in life. And if they want money, then they come to realize they have to put morality aside. They have to put altruism aside. And many of them put morality aside in order to gain whatever values they want for themselves, which is the ultimate sin. The ultimate sin is to want something for yourself. The ultimate sin is to live for yourself. The ultimate sin is to value, to want, which means to live. The people in this show want money, but they don't want life. And that's, again, another way in which how evil they are is portrayed. They don't want to live. If they wanted to live, they'd never play the game. Now notice in Hunger Games, they're forced to participate. In Hunger Games, they rebel. In a Hunger Games, it's a dystopian world in which they rise up against that world. Here, it's in our world. They don't care. They don't rebel. They never go after the gods. They don't try to kill the gods. They never even try. They just accept and they play along. And even when they know what it's about, even they know that their chances of death far exceed, I mean, again, 1 in 465, they come back. They keep playing. Well, somebody says the fact that 456 didn't change after winning the game is interesting. He does change a year after, right? He's a loser. He is a loser. He's always been a loser. But a year afterwards, when he realizes the scope of the evil, supposedly then he gets a haircut, colors his hair red, and he becomes a new person, supposedly. Takes responsibility. I mean, even during the game, when the girl who, from North Korea is about to die, and she asks him to promise her that if he wins, he will take care of her brother, he refuses to do that. He's just an awful human being. And yet, he wins. Like, usually, games like this are played in some dystopian context, where people are forced, and then there's a rebellion against that. Not here. People just accept it. So the show's painful to watch. It's not entertaining. And it shouldn't be entertaining. And there's something wrong in a culture that finds this entertaining. Really. I mean, it's a sick culture. Our culture is sick. Partially, it's physical. It's gratuitous. Now, at the end of the movie, he does help the child. At the end of the movie, but he couldn't tell her on a deathbed that he would take care of him. At the end of the movie, he does take care of the kid, but he won't tell her that he's going to take care of the kid. And for a year, he doesn't, because he's a loser. But the culture is horrific. The culture that we live in. This is a culture that loves the violence, embraces the zero-sum mentality, internalizes the anti-capitalist, anti-inequality stuff. And it's not just Korea. This is the #1 show in 90 different countries. 90 countries. In the United States, this is the #1 show. Wow, I got 3 thumbs down on my Squid Game review. How did I get 3 thumbs down? Are these just haters coming over to, or people who love the show? I wish somebody who liked the show actually, would tell me why. Right. The show, by the way, portrays money as an addiction. Everything is an addiction. Free will doesn't really exist, except the will for violence. Not going back to the game is worse. Why is it worse? How can it be worse? In other words, these are people who've given up on life. They don't want to live. All right. Do you have future plans to speak at universities in either US or Europe? Some of the best talks happen when you challenge young minds. 6 talks next week at universities. I'm doing a talk at Cornell University, at Northwood, Michigan State, and then 3 talks at Xavier in Cincinnati. So 4 talks at universities. Then, in December, I'm doing a debate, conservatism versus individualism, with one of the leaders of the national conservative movement at University of Texas in Austin, in front of students. Well, I hope we'll do a lot of marketing for that. I'm hoping a lot of people show up. But conservatism versus individualism, he chose the topic, not me. I want to do something like common good conservatism versus radical individualism. But he went for conservatism versus individualism, which my view is, okay, I've won already. What's the debate? All right, Michael asks, so you can find all my future talks, all my future on YaronBookShow.com/events, I think, or just go to YaronBookShow.com and go to events. Would you be interested in seeing an accurate film adaptation of the superhero Mr. A? He's an objectivist superhero created by Steve Ditko. I think so, but I have a feeling that those cartoons are not that superheroes are not very good. It struck me when I looked at it very rationalistically, very cartoonish. I don't know, maybe somebody could turn it into something good. That would be cool. Dean asks, can you explain why the U.S. abolishment of slavery was different than the abolishment of slavery in other Western countries, if at all? The U.S. were not the first. They were not the first. The British were the first. It took the U.S. a lot longer because of the politics of it, because some states had it, some states didn't. The states that had it developed a real commitment to it. There were strong economic interests, but strong also philosophical interest in keeping slavery. The people of the South, the slave owners of the South invested philosophically in Hegel and other philosophers to justify their commitment to slavery. So it took a lot longer because it was a young nation. It just won a war. It just won its independence. It didn't want to go into civil war immediately. Therefore, it tolerated this evil institution for much longer than it should have tolerated it. Civil war was inevitable to abolish it because of the commitment the South had towards slavery. Other countries did it. Some countries did it after the United States, like Brazil. Many countries in Europe did it before because they had a stronger central authority. There was, the British Parliament passed a law abolishing slavery, and that was it. There wasn't this federalism, where some states were behaving in a completely different way than others, and that had been acceptable within the scope of the Constitution up until the Civil War. Okay, would you ever consider debating against Gavin McInnes again? Sure, I'd debate Gavin McInnes. I think he cut me off at the end of the debate because he was obviously losing so badly. And he didn't want to hear my points on immigration. But yeah, I'd debate Gavin again. All right, this is, we're going to have a last question. We're at $375, we're $225 short. If one of my whales wants to step in with $100 or $200, that would be great to get us to the number we need. At the very least, somebody should do $25 so we go over 400, which used to be our goal. We should at least make it to $400. Any show, even when Ali is not here. But I'm sure there's somebody out there who can afford to contribute to the Yaron Brook Show $25 right now. All right. Hopefully that'll happen. Frank asks, why is the animal squid in the name? Also, this reminds me a bit of Rollerball, James Conner, the Running Man. Yeah, it reminds of both of those. Again, but both of those were dystopias that were, you fought against them. Squid is named because there's a children game in South Korea called the Squid Game. Frank, best friend Frank, thank you. $50. Hopefully you haven't watched Squid Games and you won't watch it now because of the review. So I provide you with some value today. Oh, Troy. Whoa. All right, Troy got, I think, very close to or 2,600. And there's Doug. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. Troy, thank you. And I'm going to be doing the show we talked about. I can't remember if it's on Wednesday or on Friday, but it'll be this week. So I'm going to roll it into Yaron's rules, acting on principle. So we'll do it then. So thank you, Best Friend Hank. Thank you, Troy. Doug says, had to skip to avoid Squid Game spoilers. Thanks, Yaron. But don't watch Squid Games. The point of my whole review was don't watch it. It's a waste of time, a waste of energy, a waste of any positive sense of life you might have. It should, hopefully it will, and it should disgust you. Gene says, does a free society need to protect children from themselves? For example, stopping a 10-year-old from buying cigarettes. Thanks, Yaron. That's the job of parents. Now, I think that a storekeeper morally shouldn't sell certain products to children, and I think they should announce that, and patrons should demand that, and parents should demand that. If I'm going to buy at your grocery store, I don't want you selling it to kids, my kids, anybody's kids. But I don't think I don't think it's the law. Now, you could argue maybe pornography, maybe alcohol because not because of its long-term damage, like cigarettes, but because it's immediate damage, and for a child, it could cause them to step into the street and get run over. So you could argue that alcohol, the government could stop serving alcohol to children. But again, I don't think stores would. I think it would be a cultural thing. Theme Master, thank you. Really appreciate the support. All right, I think we're done with the questions. Cool. I think I covered all of them. Oh, so Squid is in the name because Squid is a children's game in South Korea. I think because there's violence in the game, you're pushing. Here you had knives, but in the children games, it's pushing. I also think about Squid. Squid is slippery, yucky. Yeah, it's a good animal if you want to portray slippery, unprincipled, immoral behavior, right? All right, guys. Next show, all the shows are listed for this week. I'll be doing a show on Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'll then be off next week doing the speaking tour, and we'll start up again on the weekend, the following weekend. But all the shows for this week are already listed. I might move them around in terms of order. I might change some of the topics, but generally they're all with the times and everything listed on YouTube, so you should be able to find them. Enjoy the rest of your week. Today is Monday, first day back at work. Hopefully everybody's enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to talking to you all on Wednesday. Oh, tomorrow. Ooh. Tomorrow I will be live streaming my talk to Columbia University law students. So tomorrow I'm doing, not law students. God, I'm confused tonight. Columbia University business MBA students. I'm giving a talk tomorrow. They won't do in-person talks. So I'm doing a talk tomorrow live by Zoom on ESG and its place in capitalism, if you will. And that'll be at 7 p.m. and I'll be streaming it here. So stay tuned. Tomorrow, 7 p.m., ESG and capitalism. I won't be taking Super Chat questions. You can support the show by Super Chat. I'll encourage you to do that. But I'll be taking questions from the students. And they'll be on Zoom with me, and I'll be streaming it to you guys on YouTube, Facebook, and all the other places. All right? All right, guys. Yeah, it looks like... yeah, I don't know. Facebook has been giving me some problems. They don't believe I live in Puerto Rico. They want evidence. So they're tracking my phone now to get the evidence that I actually spend time in Puerto Rico. All right, thanks, everybody. Have a great week. See you Wednesday. Don't forget to support the show at YBS.com/support. Monthly support, the most valuable support. It's predictable. I know it's coming. I can plan on it. Please do that. You can do it on Patreon. You can do it on Subscribe site. You can do it on Locals. And, of course, you can do it on YBS.com/support. See you all on Wednesday. And don't forget to like the show before you leave.